Hello and welcome to I'm Your Biggest Fan, the podcast that chats to your favourite artists about their favourite artists. I'm your host Jazmin L'Amy in conjunction with the Noise Podcast Network and sponsored by Satanic Tico. Today I'm chatting with mastermind and certified musical genius Jess Allanic from Calva, Louise. The trio currently have 3 full-length albums and are known for blending eye-watering aggression with stadium-ready anthems, with ambitious songwriting and outright hooks, trippy soundscapes, and spiraling arpeggios. So it makes total sense then that today I'm excited to be delving into a band whose name I've come across through pop culture references, movie soundtracks, and I've even been the butt of some gatekeeping jokes over the years. So I've been excited to get some second-hand enthusiasm when talking with Jess about Muse. Being from a small village in Venezuela, it was the massiveness of Muse's sound, imagery, visuals, and ambition that brought Jess to the UK in search of the same successes. It's not been an easy ride, and there have been many hurdles along the way though, but her adoration for the childhood friends from Devon is what's been keeping her going this whole time. So I'm not sure how much you've been told about this podcast already, but the basic premise is that as a musician, I imagine, quite often throughout your career, you'll get asked exactly the same questions every album cycle, every tour cycle. And especially with social media, I think a lot of fans can forget that their favorite bands are also just fans of music. Like you started out the same way any other fan of Calva Louise has. So it's an opportunity for you to forget about being a musician for a while and just revert back and reminisce to being a fan and talking about the music and the one band that got you here in the first place.
I love that. That's yes.
So you said that. Sorry, my cat is meowing like mad, so apologies if you hear him.
No.
So the band you want to talk about today is Muse, which
Yes.
when Steve told me which band you wanted to talk about, I was like, that makes so much sense. So my first question is, like, when you were a little girl growing up, do you remember the first time you heard Muse?
Yes. I feel like there's 2 times. So the first time, because my dad he will show me a lot of like new music. And I remember he showed me, but because he's my dad, right? I was kind of like, I was listening to other stuff, and I must have been like 13, something like that. And then this is my dad that told me, I showed you Muse before your friends show you Muse. But it was my friend Kevin, who's actually was at the show in London.
Oh, cool.
So in Venezuela, he was the one with the Venezuelan flag at
Yeah,
the
I
show.
remember that.
Yeah. So he actually, I remember we must have been like 14, something like this, and in school, and he was like, we had like he had like an iPod, like so the ones that with the scrolling thingy, like
Yeah.
the circle. And he had, I think, a video, like he uploaded a music video of Muse in it, and then he showed me, this band, this band Muse, and I think he showed me, I don't know if it was Feeling Good, or I think it was Feeling Good. Show me that song, and I was like, wait, what? Can I what? And I when I went back to when my parents like picked me up from school, I remember telling my dad, and then he was like, I showed you Muse. And then on TV, it was like we had MTV, and then I started to see a lot of Muse like out of nowhere. Like I just and we had another music channel. I don't remember the name, but it was a strange, like, I don't know if there's a music channel that exists here in the UK. It was called Be Live. And then I remember, like, literally this was like days apart, like the coincidence. There was my parents were watching that TV channel which broadcast a lot of English bands live, and I saw the live at the Astoria, and then I was like, I'm gonna learn that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn that's it. Yes. So that, yeah, that was like that was more than one time. Like my first time, like 3 times. But yes.
Yeah, but they were all like such like monumental moments for you that led to this happening though. And it's interesting that you said that, you know, in one of those moments was you seeing a live recording of them, because especially for me, like seeing a band in a live environment just adds so many other intricate layers to like my adoration for a band than just listening to them on records. So it's lovely that you got to experience, you know, not physically live, but you also got to fall in love with the band in a live setting as well.
Yes. Yes, that I think that was when I was like, this is a 3 piece, and that was the moment. There was no keyboard yet, because this was the first album that we're doing live at the Astoria. So, for example, I think there's song Sunburn, and then it's a lot of piano in that song. So he was playing the piano in the guitar. So
Mhm.
that was I was like, that's insane. How can you transcribe like a piano part in a guitar and make it sound so full as a 3 piece band?
Yeah.
And that was like at the time where I was like, well, I need to learn. And I will like sit down, recorded that set on TV. I don't remember the technology at the time. I asked my mom to please record the thing on the TV, and I will watch, and I will pause like whenever I saw a chord and there was a close up of the camera, Matthew Bellamy playing the chord. I will just pause it and then try with the guitar exactly where the fingers go, and try
Mhm.
to say, I will ask my dad, how did he play that arpeggio thing? So I learned a lot of guitar watching that live.
That's so cool. I find like that seems like such a unique way to have learned songs growing up than like a lot of guitar players have. You know, usually like it might be a YouTube video or from tabs, but for you, like actively pausing a live
Yes.
performance and copying it, I love that. That's such like a
Well,
unique.
I don't understand tabs. I try to like people ask me, can you do tabs? And I'm like, tabs is not a thing that my brain can. I do it by visual or like hearing,
Mhm.
but visual like in terms of I need to see where the hand goes.
Yeah.
Uh, and the tabs is too mathematical to me. I need to put myself. I need to like reverse it and try to see
Yeah.
the strings vertical. But yeah, it was then like also finding YouTube video, the music videos, and always like stopping when there was like a close up of of the hand guitars. And but live videos was to me the biggest hook, like of seeing how that works, how all that sound could work
Yeah.
live with a 3 piece band. And at the time, like it was just that it was very raw. So I really loved it. And in Venezuela, like I like rock music, it is popular, but it's not like a main thing, just like in England, for example.
Mhm.
And Muse was the reason I wanted to move to England. So that was the catalyst for me to be like, I need to know like
Yeah.
where people are like that in music.
So like Muse didn't only like inspire and influence you musically, but or, like you completely upended your whole life and location because of them as
Yeah.
well, which is also insane.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many bands. I could think like the bands that really like changed my life, like inspire me in my teens, to leave behind everything I knew and kind of like not this road, but like shake a bit of even like my parents' world, because like they had to abandon everything as well.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it's many reasons, but like being in Venezuela was a bit hard already. And I knew I wanted to do music, and I knew I had no future in Venezuela. Like I knew I couldn't, I would never make anything. in rock music. In if I stayed like there was no venues and stuff like that. So watching that, like for example, live at the Astoria. So I mean, I think the Astoria, right, it doesn't exist anymore. But I was like, in England, you have like in the UK, you have venues where bands that are 18, 19, 20-year olds can play, right? And in Venezuela, that was very limited. Like you had big shows, but you don't have places where you could go see bands that were like medium size or small size or starting. So that culture of like grassroots venues and starting and all that, that was very English. So I started going online on Wikipedia and stuff and getting and research. And I researched like where Muse were from and how did they start that. And I mean, they were, I feel like this was 2010, 2009, 2010. So the Resistance was like that was the album coming up. So the videos that I would watch of them, they were like 19, you know, like so this was like early 2000s. So you know, you get music a little bit later, you know, like and I kept saying like to my parents, being like, what, this doesn't exist here. This doesn't exist. I wanna meet people that you know, I have my friend in school, Kevin, but like I mean he's in England now. He lives in London too. And it was kind of, you know, we didn't know, you don't know many people that have your same interests and stuff, so you feel very lonely. And then I was like, well, I need to move there. I need to move there and see. So I went. It was funny because even my first show ever with Alison, bass player, when we were 17, it was way before Calva Louise. We were 17 years old. Was at the Dublin Castle. And the Dublin Castle is where Muse like used to play a lot. And that was like kind of also just a coincidence, if like trying not to follow the steps, but trying to figure out that's the what moves me in my life. How can, you know, like how can I be part of it? How can I be part of a scene? How can I be part of something like that? Which took a lot of years. But Muse, I would say Muse, there was System of a Down that also did that for me. But System of a Down, right there in the United States, and I was like, that I don't think I can go to United States. I don't think I will be having a visa and stuff. But the UK I could. So yeah, that was very life-changing. Now that, you know, I think about it, it's kind of like, wow, what would it be my life if I had stayed, you know?
It's very interesting there that you say, I mean, like, it's not the same thing, but I resonate with that so much because I'm originally from a really small island called Jersey between the UK and France. And it's literally 9 by 5 miles wide.
Wow.
I had exactly the same thing. None of my friends were into the same music as me. I never went to any shows as a kid because there wasn't any. There's one venue there now. But when I was a kid, there was nothing. If I wanted to come to a show, I had to fly over to the UK, and it had to be an arena-sized show to, you know, make up for the cost of the flights, for the time off work, for the travel, for the tickets. Like, there was no point in coming over for like a small pub show.
Of course.
So
the hotel, the accommodation.
Yeah, exactly. So like that resonates with me a lot because I feel like I had to do a very similar thing. Like if I wanted to be part of, you know, the music industry and the music that, you know how it is, like that gives you life, gives you a reason to get up in the mornings, then I was like, I need to move to London. Like that's where I need to be.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I felt.
You mentioned before that your dad had claimed to first get you into Muse. So I feel like a lot of these chats that I have, the bands people want to talk about is the band they first discovered of their own accord that wasn't of their parents' influence. So before you discovered Muse, what else were you listening to before that? And what was it about Muse that stood out against anything else you were listening to?
So I feel I was listening a mixture of, like, my parents are my dad's a musician, right? So he's also like very heavily into rock, modern rock, and like anything. It's not weird, but like a situation. My dad's French, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
half French, but like he moved to Venezuela really a long time ago, right? My mom, Venezuelan, she grew up with all the American side of rock music,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad grew up with all the European side of it. So, and because where I was in Venezuela, it was a mixture of all the MTV, for example, was very American,
Mm-hmm.
some European, and a lot of Latin American as well. So it was a strange combination of being in Latin America where there's a lot of like music that is not very rock, but there's a lot of Latin rock.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, it was already strange that my parents were into rock, because a lot of all the parents that I knew, all my friends, none of them liked rock music. Everybody went to salsa, merengue, like
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And my parents were like, rockers. So they showed me a lot of bands that they grew up with, like especially something like Nirvana, like
Mm-hmm.
REM, bands like that. Like, and I remember my parents took me to see REM. They came to Venezuela. Um, they were also, my mom was a huge fan of Oasis and like a Britpop and things like that, Blur. So I had it was kind of like a mix of whatever everybody says, but because again, none of my neighbors or my friends were into rock music, it was MTV for me, knowing like new bands. So I remember I was listening at the time. It's very eclectic. I was listening to, remember, My Chemical Romance, all because of music videos,
Mm-hmm.
because of MTV, right? So My Chemical Romance, when Elena came out, I was like, "What the fuck? This is amazing! No way!" Yeah. So My Chemical Romance, Green Day. I remember American Idiot just came out. So Green Day, the videos. I was like, "Wow, this concept is insane."
Yeah.
I listened to, yeah, those are the two I remember. System of a Down. I think that was like first time I saw that Chop Suey on TV. I was like sold. I was
Mm-hmm.
like 10 years old. Um, and then there were other bands that then I started listening a bit later on. Um, but there was also the Latin bands like Molotov, which is a
Oh yeah.
Mexican.
Yeah, my ex is Mexican, so I've listened to a lot of Molotov.
Well, Molotov was my first ever show that I
Oh,
went to.
no way.
But again, you see, like Molotov was on TV, and I loved it. But my parents loved it as well, so they took me to the show. Which I was like, I was 8, not sure it was the best at the time. I'm a bit young. But it was kind of like my parents were watching TV with me and discovering with me the music at the
Mm-hmm.
same time as it was coming out, and so it's all very mixed in my brain. Like I don't remember when I kind of like listened to, yeah, must be My Chemical Romance. I just remember vividly the moment I saw that video for the first time of Elena, and I was like, yeah, but I couldn't share with anyone but my parents because nobody liked My Chemical Romance because
Yeah.
I didn't. Then my apart from my friend Kevin, for example, my friend Kevin and some of other people in school, but it was very reggaeton was getting super popular as well. So it was kind of like at the parties, all the parties, it was just reggaeton, 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 like, and there was no rock. I remember also Tattoo as well when
Mm-hmm.
the music again, anything that was on TV, on MTV, and Paramore as well. I remember
Yeah.
Paramore on MTV from 2006 to 2010. Those 4 years were like my formative music years, thanks to Latin MTV.
It's interesting because you had a very similar experience to me discovering music. Like I discovered all of my music with the visuals of music videos. Like always been a fan of music videos, and it's one of the reasons I also adore Calva Louise, because like with bands, unfortunately, it's not just about the music, it's the entire package. Like the visuals also matter. So for me growing up as well, like I didn't discover a band or music unless it was with a music video. So for you, I think you said that Kevin showed you Muse with a music video. How
Yes.
different do you think your experience with Muse specifically would have been if you hadn't have had like the visuals to go with the sound as well?
Well, I think, I have a similar experience without the visuals. And then when I saw the visuals, I was like, oh no, this touches me more than I thought, right? And it was at the time, again, I remember my dad showing me just music, Quiz of the Stone Age. Ah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. My dad. Oh, it's the drummer from Nirvana, Foo Fighters, and he was telling me songs for the deaf, and
Mm-hmm.
that came out. Remember, like when I was like 8 or 7 years old. So and then again, I remember that, and I remember kind of like, yeah, yeah, good, good. I'll stay with my muse, and all that. And then I saw No One Knows, like the
Mm-hmm.
video, and again, I was like struck, like for like it does. I feel how different that would have been, like if I hadn't not that different, because eventually I would have seen a video like when I saw Question Age, and I would have been like, no, yes, this is exactly for me. And it was just that inventiveness of music videos that I feel like, I don't know, yeah, without the visual side, there's something, I might not see the full picture and
Mm-hmm.
not understanding exactly how how much it touches me. So seeing when I hear, I get it, like I get it, but like my brain is like processing it, and when I see it, the full feeling, like I feel like the full thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it always took a while for me to like things. I mean, to get a bit obsessed with things. Um, and I feel that feeling grows or kind of no stays, the same through the music videos. Like
Yeah.
with the music videos, I'm like, I want to know everything about this. I like all the, and for example, one music video of Muse, and I remember, yeah, that was on MTV. MTV was so good.
I
I'm thinking
know.
about it.
Bring it
I
back.
was, yeah, it was so good. It was Bliss. That music video. Like I can give a dissertation about a music video. I can explain everything that I think, and then Muse will be saying, "No, you're wrong," but but on my feelings. Yeah, I mean, if Muse hadn't had any music videos ever, I don't know. That's kind of like the hypothesis, but because all their music videos to me were so touching, like I will always, there's no universe where I wouldn't be a fan.
Yeah. Like with music videos, it kind of like if you love a band already anyway, I feel like music videos is just it's like the cherry on the top, like a whole other level. And I get the same when I see bands in a live setting. Like sometimes there are bands that won't make sense to me on records, but if I see them live, that can completely change. And then the next time I listen to them, it's like listening to them for the first time with a whole different perspective.
Yes, I love that.
It
That's
just,
one of my favorite things.
I think it gives like much more of a like a personal level to it as well. I feel like the more I know about a band, the more I will love them.
Well, yeah, no, because this is the weird thing about it's not like parasocial. Don't know if that's the word, but like
Yeah.
I never had like, I never wanted to know people's lives like in a band. Like I never really had a crush on band members and stuff like that, but I wanted to know everything that they've been through to make that art.
Yes.
You know, like I want to know the story. I don't care about who they're married or things like that, but I want to know the formative years of, like, you know, the struggles, the almost giving up, and then and the interviews, and seeing how, you know, like the humanity behind the talent, and if I really resonate with that, that makes me kind of a fan forever, because there's really talented people that are not very nice. So, you know, like,
Yeah.
then you're, and then that kind of like, that really, yeah, bothers you, you know, like, well, music wise. And
Yeah.
I feel like I really like to relate with, you know, who they work with like music directors, and the, you know, what they struggle to be a band, and friendship in bands as well. Like, I really love organic histories as well. And I feel like, yeah, Muse, you know, three friends from school from Devon, you know, 16 years old, and doing that. And I feel so that was a huge thing, because in Venezuela I really wanted to have a band. I really wanted to do a band with friends. None of my friends play music. None of my
Yeah.
friends were interested in playing music. And I was like, School of Rock, have you seen it? You know, I was like,
I was exactly the same.
like, what? I need to find people. And funny, when I moved to France, and I moved, so convinced my parents. I moved without saying anything to my friends. Some still are a bit annoyed at me, because I just left, like, I was like 16 and I left, you know. And then people are like, did she die? What happened to her? And I went living with nuns, you know, like in a
Oh,
convent
yeah. Okay.
for poor girls, no money. So I went there. My dad was looking for a job. My mom was in Venezuela, still, you know, trying to sort out how to sell whatever she could. Um, and my dad was in another city, trying to find like benefits and things like that, because it's hard to move and, you know, not
Yeah.
have a live a life of, you know. Then that's the thing. My dad was a teacher, and then he had to leave everything, right? And now he's a guitar teacher. But um, I remember when I was in that convent, and it was winter, and I had never seen snow in my life. So I was very depressed, because it was kind of like, I come from the tropic, and then
Yeah.
I see snow that is, your bones are cold, and, you know, first time I'm, you know, separate from my parents, you know, like, it was a convent as well. My dad couldn't get in. There was a nun, and she was like, no, you can't get in, you're a man. And I was like,
Mm.
ah. So I was very lonely, and listening to Muse. I remember listening to Muse, and I was like, "It's fine, it's fine, all good, all good. I can do this, I can do this." And I'll go to school. And also, I spoke French, but my French was very accent. So, like, my accent was still really strong.
Yeah.
Like, if I speak French, I need to really, like, people will know I'm not, you know, like, French, you know.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult, because people in school, it was a huge school, and people, I couldn't still find my people, you know. I couldn't still find people that would love Muse and anything. And then it was very like, I will be very weird, because first of all, I'm a foreigner. Like, second of all, like, you know, there was a lot of xenophobia where I was as
Mm.
well. But then I remember, like, 6 months after I came to live there was a girl with a bag with a patch,
Mm-hmm.
a Muse patch.
No way.
Yeah. And then I was like, "Do you like Muse?" And she was like, "I love Muse, my favorite band." And yeah, and then we go like talk, and then by that conversation was such a tumultuous thing, because I am
Yeah.
a very loud person, but I guess a lot of Venezuelans were very loud. And well, not all of, but, you know, but me and my family were loud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and so I was getting a bit loud of excitement, you know, because finally, you know, I must have been like almost 17, like 16, 20, 17. And the first time, like,
Mm-hmm.
right there, And then to the group of friends, there was Alison. So, bass player.
Yeah.
And so, and Alison, and I said, Alison, did you like Muse? And he's like, I love Muse. And then I have been to a show, a big show in France that Muse did like in a stadium because they're so big. That's the thing, Muse is so popular in France. So it wasn't very hard to find Muse fans. It wasn't
Yeah.
very hard to find people. And then, people would love, all the other bands. And then I remember Alison was at the same show that I was, that seen Muse for the first time. We didn't know each other yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I was like, what are the bands you love? And Alison was like, I love System of a Down. I was like, tell me more. Yeah, Fate. And then we've been friends for like, and then this is the thing. I was like, this is what I have always wanted.
Yeah. That sense of
Become friends.
community.
Yeah, and become friends with somebody. I gave Alison his first bass because he will play guitar, but I will play guitar, and then we will assess who plays better guitar. So we're the guitarist. And then he was like, "No, you win. You play better than me." And so I gave him the bass, and then that was another story I remember of Green Day. Like Billy Joe gave Mike Dirnt like first bass. So this is what I always wanted, which was like have friends, like through the bands that you love become this friendship. And now Alice and me have been friends for a decade now. Like I think we've seen each other every day, almost every day for those years. And I got him to move to England, and then we met Ben through the same process. But there was a thing that I was like, that I never thought was going to be possible, and it all, I just had to be a bit crazy and then yell, "You like Muse?" And then it snowballed to now being in England and having a band.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Calva Louise have 3 albums and a handful of EPs?
Well, 2. So, okay. So, yes, 2 albums, a mixtape, and because the Over the Threshold, we called it a mixtape because it was kind of, we don't know what to do,
Okay,
it's not an album, it's because it's not long enough for that, and EPs, but I call them experiments. So
is that what EP stands for?
I don't even know.
It should. So how has your love of Muse influenced your own music writing from when you first started writing music compared to now?
So I think it's more prominent now than it's ever been before, because when me and Alison started playing music, this was of 2 favorite bands, our System of a Down and Muse, for both. In France, again, when we finished, was it college, high school, when we were 17, 18, people were kind of making fun of us for liking System of a Down and Muse and My Chemical Romance, and it was so we didn't find, it was just the 2 of us. Like we didn't, people were very, I don't know, like where in the entourage that we had, it was more about indie, the Libertines and things like that. So when we moved to England, when we started before Cavaliers, before meeting Ben, we had keyboards and piano. And actually, like Under the Skin, for example, a new song, the piano bit, I wrote it when I was 17 with Alison, and we used to play a version of that but then, I remember I was wearing like My Chemical Romance t-shirt. I was wearing 3 Chase for Sweet Revenge t-shirt, and then like old men, like they would make fun of me and stupid things like that. So, and then people will make fun of me for bringing a keyboard, ringing the piano, and then, I had the people were like, "You'll never be like Muse anyway, like you're not good enough." And I had a lot of stuff like that. So I was like, well, let's sack the piano. And I spent so long learning piano. In Matthew Bellamy was, of course, like a big Danny Elfman, Matthew Bellamy, and Jan Tiersen, who's from the composer. So they were my I learned piano like because of them.
Yeah.
Again, it was kind of, we had to, when we moved to England, it was very sporadic. We couldn't bring the keyboard, we couldn't bring anything. So we met like a manager, and we go offer the deal, and everybody's like, indie, you gotta do indie. It's indie music, no screaming, no forget. And I remember the discussion. We want to be metal, like we want to do metal with piano, like we want to have like the heavier sides of this, and system up, and I couldn't find anybody. That people were like the end tour, the surrounds that we had, it was very looking down on that. So when we did first album, it was very like I couldn't even I I wasn't even allowed to say notes about mixing and stuff like that. Like I had to sneak around. I had to call the mixing engineer. I had to email the mixing engineer. It was very controlling. But at the same time, we're again foreigners, and I feel like I've been a foreigner almost my whole life now. Half of my life. So we don't know how it works in England. We didn't know anyone in England. We didn't know. So when you go offer opportunities, it's like, right, for the first album, sack that. They sack your influences, and you gotta do this is the thing that you gotta do because you signed to an indie label. It needs to be that. It needs to be in. And I was like, well, you can't say no, because if not, what we're gonna do? Go back to where we came from? There's no choice. Like, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Because we can't afford to say no, because we didn't even have a place to stay. We were very lucky and very unlucky. But it's hard when you don't, again, like moving, this is a job, it's like, there's no many labels fighting for you. You get an opportunity, and you got to take it, and you got to do what they ask you to do.
Yeah, like a stepping stone.
So that was Rhinoceros. The first album, no much influence, because we had to do what we were told. It's very, again, complicated. It's kind of like there's no the artist integrity. You need to eat before the artist integrity. Like that doesn't give you food.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm still like, yeah, it's okay. It's we did what we could. Then for the second album, we were left to our own devices, but for real, left so after being kind of micromanaged a lot, and then being left, that's kind of like the most experiment thing. And it was very, well, it was a pandemic. It was like discovering synths and stuff like that, and going through, and all very DIY thing. So that doesn't really count. I don't really count it, but that's where all the albums will have in common is the story, like the side of, I wanted to do videos to tell this story, right? So but that was really hard. Nobody will want to work with me. Nobody, everybody's like, yeah, who are you, little foreigner who doesn't know anything? I mean, I've been called a lot of things like that.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's horrendous.
But then it's yeah. But then when we were kind of like independent, nobody will tell me what to do or what not to do or whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do the music videos, and I'm gonna do exactly what we want. I wanna so literally go back to 16, 17-year-old self, go back to loving music and loving, and fuck people that told me not to play the piano. I'm gonna play the piano. I'm gonna scream if I want to scream, because it's therapeutic for me.
Yep.
Because I got so much rage in terms of, well, being a foreign woman, and trying to do something, and people literally putting you down so much. So for Over the Threshold, which is like, we call it like the mixtape, it was the most bliss I've ever felt in my life, because then I was like, well, I'm gonna start putting what I love of System of a Down, what I love of Muse, what I love of all the stuff, like trying to get in it, doing the story and doing exactly the way I was feeling when I was in Venezuela and dreaming naively that I could do anything. But without that feeling, I wouldn't ever pack one suitcase and left a country,
Yeah.
So, and I've never been back to Venezuela, and
Not even to visit.
no, because it's a lot of problems. It's no, I'm not. One day, I still feel like I just don't have the money, the time, no family left there as
Yeah.
well. Couple family, but
Not a
uh,
big enough reason to
no.
go.
But I always feel like I'm gonna come back where I grew up and where I discovered Muse, where I discovered all the bands, where I felt like anything could happen. I felt when I was living in Venezuela, when I was 14, 15, I felt that Matu L'Amy could come and then just drive and then be like, hey, how are you? Like, like I in
Yeah.
my mind, it was like, that could happen. Like, that could happen. People go visit Guarenas. Like, that's where I grew up, Guarenas, which is a town, it's a city not far from the capital.
Mm-hmm.
I have great memories there, and I feel like one day I'll come back. Um, and yeah, and for Over the Threshold, it was actually Over the Threshold was the first ever EP name that me and Allison did together when we were 17 as well, 17, 18 years old. So we took Over the Threshold, was taking everything that we were when we
Mm-hmm.
were 16, 17, 18, plus all the experience of being put down, and I would say like sometimes abused, like because we've been scammed like very hard, even had to go to the police, and but again, hardships of bands, that the struggles, and I mean, Alison couldn't even speak English at the time, so it's. I feel like he's got a bit of a gift because his accent is so good. You will think he's English. I mean, not English people, I guess, but like he.
Before your show, so I'm really good friends with your label manager, Steve. Um, we went out for I went out for dinner beforehand with Alison as well, and your drummer, because your manager as well, Ben Bruce, he's good
Yes.
friends with my boss. So we went out
Nice.
for dinner beforehand. So yeah, I've met your other band members too, and couldn't tell. They were so
Yeah.
lovely, so nice to talk to as well.
Yes, and um, so yeah, it was kind of like doing that mixtape was to us, yeah, coming back, and now even more with and that's what we wanted. I wanted the keyboard, like to play the keyboard live and stuff. Okay, it's always been a problem to bring stands, to bring things, to make it, to blah blah, two mics. So I said to Alison, we need to be the way. Do you remember when we would play covers of Muse, we'll play covers of System of a Down? Radio Video was like, we will do all these things together, and so I was like, this was like, yeah, end of 2022, this needs to change. Like, we
Mhm.
need to be go back, like we did our experiments where we were kind of mistreated, and at the same time where we were like not knowing what to do, because again, love so much stuff, I don't know where to start, there's too much things to decide. Let's go back to what we started loving, what we're doing this for.
Yeah.
So that's all the new stuff. That's everything that by many but not, and it's not only with Muse, and System of a Down. There's also like my where I grew up, my influences, like even like Molotov is a big, even like shows, TV shows of when I was Latin TV shows, like when that I would see on the TV and things like that. All that stuff has been influenced, but everything that uh, through the years when I moved from Venezuela to Europe, everything people told me not to do is what we're doing.
Yeah, it's
So,
if I can, as someone who works in the music industry as well, like it feels wild to me that all of the biggest, most successful bands are the ones that didn't do what they were told. They're the ones that did exactly what they wanted to do. So it baffles me that, you know, people that work in the music industry that should know better are still trying to tell bands how they should sound, when the thing that makes bands the most special is what makes them unique and not the same as
Absolutely.
everyone else.
And you know, I feel like so that we had this not naivety but kind of feeling we don't know what we talking about, because well, especially me, because coming from Venezuela, again, like the industry, like the rock industry, right? It's not like here. This miles, million years, million light years, right? So in terms of rock, you know, in terms of like history, you know, like your grandparents loved the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and they could see them, you know, and you know, and the venues, you know, and things like that, because they are in Venezuela, but like not very common for this music. Even, you know, I got friends, this is really separate, but I got friends that they're in the United States now. They supported Bring Me the Horizon in Venezuela in 2010 in literally like a little room, you know, like 2011, no, 2013, something like that, like something crazy. I
Yeah.
even showed my boyfriend Bowie, I showed him a video of like somebody recorded, and you know that you got TVs, you know, like you know, those kind of like a fan, you know, like
Yeah.
a kind of vibe, literally like school theater kind of vibe, you know. And it's crazy. It's Bring Me the Horizon, you know, and
Yeah.
playing there in this small room. Um, but coming here in the UK, we had this. I would say that it was very not lack of confidence, but we didn't know. So we would say we don't know, so we trust the professionals.
Yeah.
And it took us, I mean, we've been living here for 8, 9 years in the UK. And what I've learned the most is that the professionals don't know much more than you. Like it's
No.
and it's but people do know what they're talking about, but it doesn't, how can they put that, it's like mold. uh well, it worked for them, it should be working for you, but no,
Yeah.
how can it work? And this is my problem with everybody that, you know, just try to control a little bit like what we're doing. It was like, no, because you've never met someone exactly that comes from my background, so you don't know how it is gonna work or not, singing in Spanish or not, and things like that. But I'll tell you something related to Muse. When Muse released Won't Stand Down, it made me cry because I was like, I needed that. I
Hmm.
really needed that song. When that song came out, that's when the shift, well, it was almost the beginning of our shift in terms of taking control and won't stand down for the bullies anymore. And that's when, like, third class citizen, I wrote third class citizen because of the feeling, and I want to do my story, and I want to do what I want, and I want to scream, I want to scream. I don't care if I don't do it correctly. I don't care. Let me be. And it's so hard for people to let others be for some
Yeah.
reason, and especially when they see potential and when they see a vision. I always felt that because we've been very lucky in terms of we came to the UK and we got an album deal, and we released a record, Rhinoceros. But yeah, I always felt that people will like see me and be, this is what I think you are, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
you don't know who I am. And when I heard One Stand Down, and that chorus in my mind, and I was like, this is exactly how I feel. I feel being like a puppet, you know, and I'm then cutting those strings. And I always keep saying I didn't come from Venezuela to be manipulated
Yeah.
anymore. And somebody in the industry told me, "You've never accomplished anything." And that was all the same moment. And people don't mean it like they want to hurt, right? But I feel like you don't know, like how
Yeah.
can you don't know what I've been through, and I don't know what you've been through, but like I won't stand down, you know, like I'll fucking, you know. And it gave the confidence, and I always be like, Muse, you always appear for in my
Yeah.
life, like giving me gifts of of like guidance,
Yeah, so they've definitely obviously like been the soundtrack to your life through like good and bad moments. I first discovered Muse when they were in the soundtrack for the Twilight movie sagas.
Oh yes.
And
Oh,
they've
yeah.
often spoken about being a part of that franchise as like selling their soul. So
Oh.
if you could lend your music to a TV show or a movie soundtrack, which would you pick?
Ooh. Honestly,
Because you've
I
kind of
am
like
not.
you've like made your own visuals, you've made your own like little mini movie for it anyway with all the music videos that you have. But yeah, if you could, is there anything that you would love to have like written the music for?
Wow. Well, yes, but um, I was kind of not bummed out because I was like, who the fuck I am, like, but like Tron, but now it's Nine Inch Nails is doing it, which is gonna be way better. But uh,
Not better, just different.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, Nine Inch Nails is also another band that, yeah, that was like fucking hell. Yeah, like there's so many things. Like, it's a lot of video games, but yeah, Tron has been something that's been part of my sci-fi growing as well in terms of like first films of discovery, things like that. And yeah, my mind, I was like, one day, well, next one. But
There's still time.
this, yes, that one. um and I would love to be part of, honestly, to know anything that people would want our music to be. I say yes, because that's already like a sort of privilege. And I always feel like, I've never been like into Twilight or anything and stuff much. I mean, I did go to the cinema and so yeah, with my friends when Twilight came out. I remember I was in Venezuela. I got the books my friend gave me to read, but I was like, I was reading. I wanted to learn English, so I was reading books in English,
Mhm.
and they were in Spanish. But I would say that Twilight, one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life is Decode, and that was on MTV all the time. And that was, I think, one of the first times I saw Paramore, and I was like, this is insane. How good that is. Twilight, great music, such a good soundtrack, insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. I also wanted to ask you, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you have seen Muse live. How many times have you seen them, and when was the first?
I've seen them, I think 3 times. I've seen Muse. I'm not great with memory in terms of like numbers, because I don't really know like distances. If you can ask everyone, like I'm the worst at being like how when things were or things like that.
Yeah.
But I must say, I feel the first time I've ever seen them, and I have to Google it, but I'm pretty sure it was 2011 or 2010. 2010, what, the right when I moved to France.
Hmm.
Um, like 6 months later, I hadn't seen my mom in 6 months. She came to France, and she took me to see Muse, like literally like the 2 days after, something like that. Uh, and my mom was supposed to go back to Venezuela, and then the Iceland volcano came, and then
Yeah,
no,
I remember that.
and she stayed, and so I was very happy. And then yeah, she took me to see Muse then, and then I remember I saw Muse a second time with Alison, I think. Yes. So Alison was at that show, and then the second time we went together, or
Hmm.
like we were, and then a third time. It was all for no, it was 2 times for the Resistance tour, and then the third time was for the second law. When the second law, and I start to go super deep into anything, the thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, and all that stuff, reading science books and
Yeah.
trying to understand. Um, and yeah, but I remember that like the first time I saw Muse, I cried of happiness, of feeling and the way how the energy that everybody's feeling at the same time, crying at the
Mhm.
same time, like feeling like that at the same time was very powerful. Yes. Have you seen Muse?
No, I haven't. I imagine like their live shows would be absolutely insane.
Yes. Yes. No, yeah, I remember being like, wow. It was very wowing. But I remember, yeah, I remember that was had the Resistance um, and I bought a lot of DVDs, of live DVDs. I bought the harp one, um, the like all the live the Wembley live as well. I don't know if that was hard, but like that was yeah. Okay, I'd love to see Muse again soon, but yes, that was beautiful.
Fingers crossed it happens again soon and you can see them for a fourth time.
Yes,
But I have one more question for you. Are you a fan of band merch? Have you owned any Muse merch before?
yes. Have I? Okay,
What's the
I need to.
quirkiest piece of Muse merch that you have?
Okay, I need to. Okay, because this is the thing with me and things. I lose things. I lose a lot of things. Um, but this must be my parents that most have it. But it's because I never had, because I left Venezuela with like not much. Even
Hmm.
I've been living with my boyfriend for 5 years. I still have all my stuff in bags. So like I still don't, I'm scared. I don't decorate. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm very kind of like I'm leaving tomorrow kind of vibe. But it's it's taking a while to put like stuff in a drawer.
Yeah.
Like um. So I think the thing that I love the most is CDs
Hmm.
with the with the leaflet. I loved that, and I think that was like a big box, like CD for the second law that I bought with my mom, and but I need to call her because I don't think I got any T-shirts, but I don't know why. I think I must have. I don't know if they were too expensive when we were in the. I mean, I remember the ticket to see Muse. I remember the price because, well, I don't know. We need to do the
The conversion.
inflation, the conversion, but it was 70 euros, which doesn't sound like anything at all now, like compared to, the 2011.
So it
But
would have been in today, that would be £60, which is all right, I think.
that's, yeah, that will, yeah, for a huge, like 2 hour concert. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember it, and Biffy Clyro was playing as well. So,
Oh, cool.
even, yeah, it's the first time I saw so many guitars. And they were they're all different colors, same brand, but like different colors, and I love that. Um, I was so in awe of Biffy Clyro as well. But yeah, I think it must be the CDs. I did buy, because of the CDs. I did buy books of science, of like Leonard Susskind, the theory. I read all these books that were all everything Matt Bellamy would say, or like on interviews and things like
Yeah.
that. I will buy to understand, more about the concept. What was he talking about on the lyrics? I remember, yeah, getting things in the libraries, like things like that. But I think, yeah, same with System of a Down, and Serge Tankian was like he was doing his solo tour, and I
Hmm.
remember having like Harakiri, or he did, well, I don't know exactly, but I had two of his solo albums, and I think I have a mug, a Serge Tankian like cup. Um, yes. So in terms of merch, do you know what? What I have is banties of all new bands, all the
Hmm.
bands that we tour with, or like I really love. I got all these I just wear band t-shirts, but it not super famous bands. Like it's the
Yeah,
band is super famous when I have a band
I
t-shirts.
love that. I just like because buying band merch for me at least, like it took me so long to get streaming services because I'm very much a like CD girl as well, and
Yes.
like it you just support up and coming music better by buying like direct from them, like the physical stuff.
I love
But
and see this, vinyl, and not everyone has a vinyl player. Vinyls cost a lot of money. CDs don't cost much money to make. And this is the thing, is because we were very nomadic, Alison and me. Like we lived. I feel like I've lived in like 8 places, all London, from Catford to Chinkford, which is
mhm.
like completely. So yeah, we used to share a bunk bed in Catford. It was a thing. It was, but
Where are you
um,
based in London now then?
no, we based in Blackpool now.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So we live well, no Blackpool, but next to Blackpool, and it's the best town ever. I love it so much with all my heart. It's called Saint Anne's on Sea, and I it's the most. It's here I feel it. I don't know. It's something in the air, the
Yeah.
nature, the sea. I love it. I love the cats. There's dogs everywhere. There's dogs, the pigeons. I love all the nature there is around. Is amazing. But Alison, we used to kind of sleep in hostels that were cheap. Like there would be like a promotion every night. So we would go to hostels. They were like sometimes 20 quid, stuff like that. And we will have CDs because it's a Twingo, so it's a car. And that was a way that we would know, learn songs. And like, I remember the Pixies was a big band that we would like, it was a car, like in the car, we'll listen to the Pixies. Um, and we had so many CDs. So whenever somebody will give us a CD, I was like, great for the car, for
Hmm.
listening. But now cars don't have CD players. Well, we still have cars with CD players. So,
But then,
but
yeah, I know what you mean though. None of the new ones are adding
but
CD players.
But we have old cars, so well, not me, I don't drive, but and that's why well we are. So CDs are to me, CDs and music videos are the two things that given me. And another, actually, weirdly enough, all the t-shirts I used to wear when I was in school, like high school, My Chemical Romance. I had the Danger Days t-shirt,
Hmm.
the Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. I have Black Parade. I have got all the collection.
Cool. That was all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for having this
Oh,
chat with me. I've had a
of course.
great
Oh, thank
time,
you.
and I hope you
Me
have as
too.
well.
Yes, it was amazing. I'm sorry sometimes I speak so much. It's just it's so much
It's
stuff.
fine. This is what I love though. This is why I love doing this podcast because like Muse are one of those bands where I've only really heard them passively. And the reason I love doing these interviews is like I get secondhand excitement from people. So
Yeah.
you've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for listening to I'm Your Biggest Fan. If you enjoyed what you heard, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, send it to your nan in the post. Every little helps. You can follow us everywhere at biggestfan_pod. Follow me everywhere at Wrathchild_Jazz. Noise at Noise UK on everything. Noise Podcast Network at Noise Podcast Network on everything. And Satanic Tico at Satanic Tico and at Pitch Black North. If you have a band member in mind that you think would be perfect for this podcast, perfect for this topic of conversation, or maybe you are the band member and you're the super fan, drop us a comment, drop us an email. All other info can be found below in the description. And thanks again for listening. We'll catch you soon.